Hello, hello. Welcome to your Productivity Pulse, the podcast that is more than just a checklist. And today we have Jordache Johnson with us. He is a AI transformation strategist, a father, a business entrepreneur, and he has been through it all. And I am so excited to have you here today, Jordache. And we're just going to jump right into a conversation about AI, everything, and life, and how do we make things better with technology and also, what do we do when we're not using our technology with our time?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for having me. I truly, truly appreciate it. I look forward to this conversation.
There was a phrase that came up for me that I'd love for you to just unpack for us. And
Yep.
that is about, you said 74% of AI adoption in a business, and I imagine also in a household environment or in a small entrepreneurial environment, is not about technology. And I was like, ooh, please tell me what it's about then.
Yes. Yes. No, great segue. First question. I love this. We can see what rabbit hole this leads us down. But yeah, so there's many studies that back this up. And the concept or the premise around this is AI is not a technology problem most often when people are not seeing the value out of it. When you see the studies of like so many XYZ percentage of C-suites don't see the ROI from their tech or from their AI investment, et cetera. And it's because people treat it like a technology product in a sense, right? And really where the challenges that come into play when it comes to leveraging AI is it's a people problem and a process problem. That's where majority of things get hung up at or adoption fails at, et cetera. So one of the things I always talk about is we don't try to solve the technology problem at first, right? It may come up in some point in time, but if we can, I can give you the best, I can help you integrate the best technology, the best workflows, automations, agents, whatever you want to call it. I can give you the best AI adoption playbook, strategies, etc. But if people don't use it, if people aren't leveraging it, what value does that actually bring? You just spend a whole bunch of money in investment, but no one's using it. And it's not as simple as just throw training at your people. Just give them training. Just give them training, training, training. That's the wrong approach as well, because people are treating this just like they were rolling out a new CRM system or a new email marketing platform that they just got to train people how to click buttons to do go use that. And with a technology like AI, both on the personal side and the business side, this is a technology that changes how we work, how we think, how we learn, what our perception is of it, what is our identity, because a lot of people's role is their identity. I am a CFO, I am a CEO, I am XYZ, and it's usually tied to their job. And rightfully so. They've probably spent a lot of time, effort, and resources to get to where they're at. And so they're proud of that role. They're proud of where they are at in their career. And if something threatens that, meaning when I say threaten, I mean if it makes them feel inadequate or they feel that, oh my gosh, this thing can do what I can do, if not better, like now I start questioning like what value do I actually bring to the table as an organization or as a human to this organization? And so there's this whole concept I call the five invisible forces. These are the psychological aspects of AI adoption that not a lot of people want to talk about, but this is something we bring with our clients, and it's a huge component of it because you have to overcome these invisible forces because if not, no one's going to leverage this. And when it comes to on an individual or personal situation, I was literally on a call an hour before we jumped on, and I was talking with a gentleman that I met at a keynote I gave 2 weeks ago. And one of the things I was telling him about, I was like, because we were talking about the individual. He was talking about like how, I started using AI. Here's my, I'm like, this is a perfect example of what I call you have everybody goes on their own AI personal journey. And what do I mean by that is there's usually about 7, 8 stages of this journey. And it's kind of like it's not in a negative way, but it's like this, like the stages of grief, right? Like you go through these different, like I'm super excited, then it's like, oh my gosh, AI is the greatest thing. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing with it. Oh my gosh, this thing doesn't work. This is stupid. This doesn't work for my situation. I'm like, oh, actually, it does add value. Okay, I actually know how to do this. Oh, I know everything. I'm good to go. And what people don't realize is that's when we kind of reach the false mastery stage, and they just don't know they don't know because they don't know. Like they're only at base camp and we're trying to climb Mount Everest at this time. They just don't know all the other things about it. It's funny how you can track people's progression, but it's very similar. Everybody's going on a journey, whether it's on it as an individual or a combination of an organization adopting it with all their people, their individual journeys as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. You mentioned the idea of critical thinking, and so some of the work that you've done is actually taking a look at how to integrate human beings' critical thinking process alongside AI, and that it's not that AI is taking over critical thinking, and because the fact is we only have 168 hours in the week. AI can help us to save some time, but we still have to put in the time to use our brains and our thinking, and we can't hand it over to AI. And I'd love your thoughts on that.
Yeah. There's so let me take a step back and explain like this is how I explain it in my key in a couple of my keynotes that I give as well. Is I'm like everybody that has a job, their job, think of their job as a box, literally a box. Inside of that box is a whole bunch of tasks, bundles of task, right? That's what makes it when they close that box, that's what makes up their job description, their job role, whatever. Those bundle of tasks, they can be in the form of daily tasks, weekly tasks, quarterly tasks, monthly tasks, or one-off tasks, or things that just come. It doesn't matter. They're tasks. Okay. Now, when we look at that, when we understand and we change our thinking of this is not just a job, it's not a 0 or 1, it is just a box full of a whole bunch of tasks. There's tasks in there that AI can help us with. AI can make us bigger, better, or bigger, faster, stronger, or do things that we haven't been able to do with those tasks. Now, what we're saying though is, once again, even on the task level, it's not 0 or 1 either, right? It doesn't mean that if I have AI help me with that task, it's doing everything for that task. It may help with 40% of that task, 60% of that task, 20% of that task, 15% of that task, 80% of that task. Rarely does it usually do 100% because what people got to understand is when we're using at the level this technology is at today, I always tell people my goal with AI is to give me an 80% draft of whatever task we're working on together. You give me 80%, then me as a human is going to come in for that last 20%, do the review, do the cleanup, do the checks, do the validation, do whatever I need to do to put my name to it, because nothing is going out the door with my name on it that came out of AI without me doing a human checkpoint. I call that, right? So that is where like, and so before we talk about like the human skills that are still need to come and play, you have to understand like when you see these media headlines of 4,000 people got laid off because of AI, there's two things happening here, three things technically happening here, in my opinion. This is Jordache Johnson's 2 cents opinion. Sam Altman coined the term, or this first time I heard the term, but he explained something he gave a term to something I was explaining before. He called it AI washing. And what he meant by that, I put a post about this on LinkedIn as well. It's like organizations and leaders are using AI as cover to make layoffs because you got to remember we're in 2026 right now. You got to remember once we got post COVID and there was a ramp up in hiring because there was a whole bunch of pent up demand. We're seeing the downside of that is we may have hired too quickly. And a lot of people are coming on that down slope and they're saying we don't need to be operating in this current cycle of the economy with this many people, but they're saying AI efficiency. Now, it may be true, it may not be true, but here's the reality of it. Any leader making decisions right now claiming we're laying off all these people because of AI productivity, they're taking a bet, and it's a pretty big bet because we believe people like me and you and like AI is going to continue to advance. We're going to continue to see this, but that doesn't mean, and I have these conversations a lot of the times when I'm meeting with executive teams or boards of like, we're gonna unlock value, and that value can be additional opportunities of value, or we may look at locking a value from an efficiency standpoint. But if we do on the efficiency, that does not mean go cut those resources. The key is don't cut them, reallocate those to something else. What else can you do with those resources? And that's time, people, etc. That is the better long-term play, in my opinion. We have data to back it up on technology adoption patterns of the people that reinvest the value that they unlock with technology are going to be the ones that are sitting a lot better, stronger in the future. Okay. Now let's bring this back down to the human, like the humanness level of this. So you said it correctly, strategic or critical thinking. 100%, right? You have to be able to critically think. I'm not going to also now what I can do, and I use AI a lot of my time, is as a thought partner, as a strategic thought partner, where I'm using it to bounce ideas off it, getting me to think of a decision I'm making from a different perspective. Would help me evaluate risk that I may be missing because I'm helping it get me to think outside the box a lot because I want to be able to understand things from different angles that I may not be able to process in my mind right off the bat, right? So that is, but I'm not offloading of, I need you to go make this decision for me. I'm saying, give me more information so I can have more information to make a better decision. Now, on the other side of things, it's creativity, right? Now, once again, AI can help me become very creative, but what people don't realize is, and I've seen this just in my own self too, let alone the data that can back this up. The more I use AI to assist me in tasks, writing, creating, coming up with campaign ideas, hooks, whatever it is, the more I use it, the better my skills become under. I am a better writer today than I was 4 years ago because now I have AI to help coach me on how to become a better writer. Right? He's giving me feedback or she's giving me feedback on it. She's helping me improve that, right? Or doing research or whatever it is. So it's like, once again, I personally don't, if AI is assisting me with a task, I don't just say, great, we got the task, move on. I'm sitting here saying, okay, why did that happen? Why did we decide that? What made that good? Because it's a feedback loop. I'm giving myself the feedback loop to figure out how do I improve better next time so we don't have to go through this interaction as much as like we did before. And then on the other side, I'm giving AI feedback of saying, here's what I need to change so you get to know me a little bit better. So there's this symbiotic relationship between AI and myself where we're coaching and teaching each other along the way. But that credibility standpoint, empathy is a big one. Yes, it can help me write more empathetically, but AI doesn't have feelings. Let's be honest, right? Like it can understand patterns. It can help me write a more empathetic email if I'm trying to deliver bad news as a framework, but it doesn't have empathy, right? It doesn't help me build relationships. But I will tell you, technology always helps me strengthen relationships because it can remind me when people's conversation or anniversaries or birthdays, or it can help me remind what we talked about to keep it fresh in mind. Like, so I use technology to strengthen my relationships, but AI is not going out and finding new people for me to become friends with. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm still going to events, meeting people. Not yet, but even to that point, like I want to meet people face to face. This is why I love going. And I do a lot of keynote talks, but I go to events as well because I love meeting new humans, having good conversations. But even like when I'm on calls with Zoom, right? I have my little AI assistant on all my calls giving me transcripts. But what did that allow me to do? Well, that allowed me to become a better listener, a better person having a conversation with, because I'm not worried about taking notes and what did she just say then, or oh, she just said something, I don't know what she just said, oh no, I'm thinking about this, I'm not listening to what she's saying because I'm trying to remember what she just said. I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh well, I'm not worried. I can go back and look at the transcript. I got all the notes I need. I got everything I need in the transcript, and I can just have a conversation and be present, be alert, ask follow-up questions, and actually be a better listener and a conversator, have a better conversation than without a transcript involved.
So then I'm going to ask you the segue question. So you're using AI in all these ways to help you improve your humanism and all the different kinds of pieces of your life. So once we have that AI piece, how have you found it's actually, you said it helps you to have better relationships and better conversations and better listening skills. What happens then for you with the amount of time that you take to be able to listen to that transcript? Like, because that for me, I mean, that's one of the challenges that I see. So many people have all these recordings, they have all these transcripts, they have all these pieces, but they don't set the time aside to be able to do that. What do you use? What kind of process or procedures do you use to be able to set aside time to be able to do that?
Yeah, and that we call them digital hoarders. Not a bad thing, because here's the thing: worst thing you can do is not capture it, right? And I see this happen all the time. I've been beating this drum for almost 3 years now, and there's this concept I have called DICE, DICE, which stands for data, information, context, and examples. This is the system before the system, meaning this is the system you need to have set up before we worry about how to use AI effectively. Because if we don't have this system set up, we're not going to be able to tap into the true power of it. Not saying you can't use it, but you're missing a huge value component, because the gold in this gold rush, this AI gold rush, is data. That's it. And we're every day as business owners, as creators, as individuals, we create a whole bunch of data. Conversations are data, right? The transcripts, videos, written, emails, social content, all these different things we're doing, coaching calls, prospect calls, sales calls, client calls, all these things are data points. And so we have to start, we have to capture it first, right? And that's what people are doing. They have these tools. Like I use Fireflies now. I used Otter before. I've tried them all. I'm on the tool I'm on now. Now, what do I do with that? That's a very good question, because here's what will happen. If you're just capturing and you're not doing anything with it, at least you've captured it so you could do something with it in the future. But if you're not doing anything, you're missing still the value. Now, what will happen is all those tools, they'll give you like, here's the summary, here's your action items, yada, 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 which is fine. I don't personally use them as that, because every call is different that I have. Like there's different categories of calls that I have, right, in my day-to-day basis. And so what I'm doing is I actually now, and this is a theme I'm starting to see. I put a post about this a week or two ago around software tools that I decide to use versus ones I may decide to build. The ones I still decide to use, I look at, I'm saying, okay, do you give me access to my data and my information that your tool is collecting or providing to me outside of your system? Meaning, do you have an API or a CLI or whatever? And if your audience does not, like, don't go down the rabbit hole, it says, can I get my data out of your system easily? And if I can't, I'm probably going to stop using your tool, aka why I stopped using Otter.ai, which was one I used for like 2 years. I use Fireflies now. Why? Because that tool is built around their API for me to easily do that. Because what I do is every time I'm on a call, as soon as that call is ended, I have automations, and now I've even moved beyond that. I'll talk about that in a second. But up until about 6 weeks ago, I had automations that would take that transcript, run it through different Claude prompts that I have built out, and put it into Google Docs and put it into specific categories, because there's more than one thing that I'm getting out of that transcript. Every transcript, I'm going to be able to get probably pains, problems, goals, and desires from somebody that I'm talking about AI, because usually I'm talking about AI in some form. And whether that's just a connection call, a sales call, a client call, there's something I'm going to be able to capture and extract out of that. Why is that valuable for me? Well, that's content ideas for me to go create content on. Goals, problems, desires that people are facing. I can also extract testimonials, right? If somebody talks about something I've helped them with a client or something, but it's not just Jordache is great at this. No, it can actually tell the story. Here's where we were at. Here's what we did. Here was the outcome. That is a very rich testimonial, quasi use case or case study that I can extract out, and I want to be able to easily extract that information. I can also extract out content ideas outside of just pains, problems, goals, desires, but things that patterns it recognize. I can also do the action items and the follow-up questions and all the other things. But like my point being, there's 7, 8 different categories that I can potentially pull out of every transcript that's happening automatically in the back end, let alone what's the next step on that call from that relationship standpoint. But I call these are the auxiliary benefits along the way. Now, what am I doing if it's a prospect call or a call that I'm a potential client call? Well, part of one of those areas that's going down that I'm running through a Claude prompt is what is not just next steps, but how does that, like, what are their needs that we've identified, and how does that map to all the different services or products that I can offer them? And then how do I help me create what the next step is and customize the next step based off of what the services I offer, right? That helps me in just but that's customized to my sales process at that point in time, right? But then once again, then I always have the transcript stored. So that is always like that. Every time a transcript happens, there's a lot of different things happening that we're extracting out of that, not just letting it sit somewhere in a Google Drive or inside of a Fireflies. Now, what's changed in the last 6 months or 6 weeks instead of my automation is I have an AI agent I've built out personally for me. It's my little assistant called Elliot, and he's ingesting all of my call data as well, or my transcripts as well, doing the same thing we were talking about from an automation standpoint, but he's also doing it from a macro level to understand what are the conversations I'm having to be able to extract out memories? Because he has like I've built it up where he has unlimited memory where I can go back and say, what did I discuss around 2 p.m. on February 9th? Let's just make up a date in the past with Michelle about this. It's going to be able to go retrieve that information for me at that point, just from one conversation, let alone all the other things that my agent's doing for me as well.
That is amazing, and it sounds like it's really giving you a chance to be able to really maximize your time,
Yeah.
beyond what most people would be able to do with AI. But I saw that at some point that you became a father. I wondered about your integration of diving into technology and using AI. How has that helped you really to expand to be able to have more family time?
And just to clarify, I wasn't technically on Wall Street. I aspired to get to Wall Street. I worked for an investment company out on the East Coast for a couple of years. That was my first and only time in corporate, and I got burnt out on that. And I left probably about 2.5 years after I started coming out of school, and then I went down the entrepreneurial path and technology path. But yeah, so I can tell you this. My oldest son, he just turned 5 about 2 weeks ago, and my youngest is 1 right now. So I have a 1 year old and a 5 year old. And prior to my oldest being born, I was running an agency. I had a partner with the agency I was running, and we were working with organizations helping them scale their launches. And one of the things I realized once my son was born, I took about 30 days off, 35 days off. I didn't realize I was on the hamster wheel till I got off the hamster wheel, if that makes sense, right? And our clients were always launching. Our clients were launching. So we were, as an agency, in perpetual launch mode because we were always serving clients during launches. That's a stressful environment after a while. And it's, especially when you have clients spending $2-3 million in a 10 or 14 day period on Facebook ads, like I'm going to need to be near my computer if something breaks kind of thing. Right. And I just knew that just like we were successful with it. That wasn't the lifestyle that, I wanted to have when I had, kids. And that wasn't the father I wanted to be, where I was like, we got to plan our family vacations around my client's launch schedule. Like that's backwards to me kind of thing. Right. I had my partner buy me out at the time. And then, I took a client or two with me to kind of figure out what I wanted to do next. And that's when I kind of, it kind of came naturally with this AI stuff will start coming in, because I was always playing with AI. I was always building and tweaking and doing things. And my first experience with AI was machine learning back in 2013. My startup had a partnership with IBM. And around that time, IBM had at the end of 2012, they started doing their big marketing campaign with their Watson supercomputer. If you remember the Watson supercomputer being the guys on Jeopardy, the Jeopardy champions. And around that time, our partnership with IBM allowed us to work with their product team to help them kind of figure out how to commercialize this and give them feedback. And I was going out to IBM 3 or 4 times a week with this product team that was working on Watson. But that gave me good insights with, holy crap, this is what like a legit supercomputer, machine learning computer can do. And fast forward, I guess 9 years later, it was like some of the things that we were doing with ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever. Like these were some of the conversations we were trying to figure out, like, how can we do something like this back then? But we did like that. It wasn't available yet because the generative technology didn't come out till like the research paper came out in 2017 from Google DeepMind. So I say all that because what it's allowed me to do now as a father is I have a much smaller team than I did with the agency, which is a blessing. If anybody has a big team, God bless your soul. It was not my zone of genius. But at the same time, I can, and I'm thinking over the last 6 weeks once I've had this agent stood up, like I shut down, like when my kids come home from school, I leave my office. I used to be like staying in my office and finish some things up while they get dinner ready, whatever. But I leave my office because even when I'm not at my computer, I can check in with my phone and my agent. I'm like, hey, here's a task I need you to start working on or getting things ready for me or doing things for me. And it's working in the background for me where I just got to check in here and there. I don't have to be at my computer, but I'm still getting actually more done than I was before. And so like that started to have, this has had a huge unlock over the last 6-7 weeks for me personally, let alone all the other efficiencies I've been able to do with AI leading up to that point. But that's allowed me to start really stepping away, but still just be able to communicate with my agent via my phone, but still be able to get a lot of stuff done that I need to get done. And it's changed the way how I worked as well. So that is one big thing that it allowed me to do is step away from my desk a lot more. The other thing, and it's kind of an oxymoron because I am this big technology person. I talk about technology. I work with technology. I help organizations adopt it, etc. But I mean, when I'm raising when it comes to raising my kids, like we limit screen time. We like he doesn't have his own iPad. We have our own, and he uses my iPad, but one specific like learning app, and that's his TV kind of thing, right? Like there's a lot of things that I understand from a technology. Like there's good and bad with all technology, and at a young age, I can see the impact that algorithms can have on young minds. And so there's certain things that I realize that I'm trying to not be the uncool dad, but like I know too much about the dangers of this side of
You,
things as well.
you sound like a pretty cool dad. So I'm just mindful of our time and my commitment to you that we were just going to do a half an hour today. And so
Yeah,
I've
it's okay.
got two questions left for you today.
You're my last call today, so we're all good.
Excellent. All right. So number one, I want you to think back in time and just to your very first timepiece, your first watch, something like. Do you remember what you had on your wrist when you were growing up?
It was probably a Dick Tracy watch. I remember like the little walkie-talkie watch. That's probably it was either that or a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle one. I don't know which one was first, but it was one of
Oh,
those.
well, I think wearing either one on your wrist would be fabulous. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I had a parrot watch that my sister sent me from Australia. And
nice.
I remember it was excellent. And then my other question for you is: so it's Friday afternoon, and your last client of the day cancels, and all of a sudden you have this intentional gift of time. What do you do with that time?
Well, I don't take calls on Fridays. We'll put it like that. So there's a reason why. But to be honest with you, so there's it depends on the season because during different seasons and like outdoor seasons, I'll take Friday afternoons off and I'm gonna go golfing. I'm gonna go do like that's just my health. That's my mental health kind of thing, right? Now, but if I get time, I'll tell you this. Here's to be the honest truth though. Like what my Friday afternoons are blocked for is experimentation. That's when my AI experimentation comes into play because whether that is working with a new tool, whether it's building something, building a new software tool, whether it's testing out a new tool, whether it's testing out a new workflow, whether it's starting a new pilot in my agency to be able to see if this is going to add value to me or my team, etc. That's my experimentation time. So that is my big experimentation time. Now, I will tell you every day on my Monday through Thursday on my calendar from 5 to 5:30 typically, I usually set aside 30 minutes just to do some quick experiments, something that I just want to be able to do it. And the reason why I do that is for two reasons. One, if it's not on my calendar, I'm not like it doesn't exist, and that ensures that I'm always gives me opportunity to go play a little bit and not just, everything's not work efficient. It just gives me time to play because some of the best things have come in my business and in my breakthroughs with AI have come in when I just play with it and experiment with it and curious. But the other thing too is that helps me keeps me focused throughout the rest of the day where I don't get distracted with shiny new toys. When if I somebody, early on in my AI career, I fell down the rabbit hole of feeling like I had to stay on top of everything because people were asking me questions and all this. I kind of had to be the one who broke the latest model or break the news. I had to I had to create the content that I don't play that game anymore because various reasons. One, you can't win in that game. You're setting yourself up for burnout. But two, you don't need to have the latest and greatest to do a lot of good damage with this stuff, with this technology. And when I'm very intentional with it, so if I come across a new new tool, or somebody tells me about something, I'm like, oh, I'm curious about that. I have a place to go park that and say, this is the time when I can go explore. I'm not going to take my time during a deep work period where I'm should be doing some client stuff or content creation stuff. And I eat up 2 hours of my day experimenting with something versus let me just give myself dedicated time. And that allows me to run my shop a lot more efficiently, but still give me ability to go play. Cause I still have, basically I get about 4 hours of playtime every week on my calendars.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you actually do a lot of you have a very specific calendar that you use. You do a lot of time blocking in order to be able to
100%.
identify out the different types of brain work that you need to do, whether it's client manifestation, creativity, exploration, and family.
100%. And my whole calendar is blocked. Meaning I have time blocks all day, every day for time blocks of what days do I take client calls on and sales calls on, or what periods of those. What days do I have deep work periods where there's nothing happening besides me just headphones in and I'm working for 2, 3, 4 hour sprints kind of thing. There's times when I'm just creating content, right? So I have these blocks of time now. once again, does every time block get followed correctly every single week? No, of course not. Sometimes I need to take a call at that point in time and eat into some of my, that's fine. I can make adjustments, but that is the operating norm is this is what my week looks like, my optimal week looks like, and I'll adjust along the way. But that just ensures I can't operate and ensuring that all the different things that need my attention throughout the week are getting done unless I have dedicated time set aside. If it's not on my calendar, it's not real. I mean, me and my wife, I mean, you should see some of the things that we put on our calendars of like kids doing this, kids' birthday parties, swim lessons, whatever it is. It's on and I have it all on, my Google calendar, not all on my work calendar, but I can see it all on one calendar because I need to be able to organize and make sure that I'm spending time in family, business, health, personal time, mental health kind of side of things as well. Like, I even the health side of things. I used to work out late, but then what would happen is I would work out after I get the kids to bed. By the time I get done working out and take a shower and calm down and go to bed, it's like it's 1, 2 in the morning. And then I'm like, then it just throws off my next day. So I flipped that in the last 3 months where I go to bed at an early time. I'm not a night owl anymore. I'm going to bed at a decent time, but I'm waking up at 3:45, 4 every morning to go do my 8 miles of walking in the morning. But during that 8 hours of walking, I bought a treadmill that I put in my garage. I have a standing desk. I have two monitors and my laptop out there. I get 2 hours of dedicated work time that I'm doing while I'm actually doing my 8 mile walk every morning kind of things, right? So like, it's just figuring out these ways to make it work for you. That's what works for, I'm not saying that works for everybody, but like I've just had different experiences, but I have to have the time blocks throughout the day and throughout the week. If not, nothing's going to get done to move the needle in both my personal life or my business life.
You are a man after my own heart about finding ways to be able to do two things at once and be safe while you're doing it. So
Right.
that's
And right. Because I used to just go outside and do my walks outside, which is nice. But I live in Houston and usually it's either raining or it's freaking 106 degrees outside. But also it's like me going outside to go listen to a podcast for 2 hours. And here's what, honest to God truth, here's what was happening. I had my normal podcast, but if I go walk for an hour and a half, 2 hours every day, by Wednesday, I'd run out of podcast episodes to listen to. And then I'm like, what am I going to do on this time? Because I would use podcasts to help generate ideas for content and things. But eventually I was like, no, I give me my laptop. I got 2 hours and 10 minutes is actually how long I walk every morning. It's like 2 hours and 10 minutes, 130 minutes. I can get a lot of stuff done in an hour and 30 minutes with no kids, headphones in, by myself in the garage at, 4 to 6:30 in the morning. And we can get a lot of good stuff done. And that's, that once again, and usually what I'm at that time, I'm usually me and Elliot, my agent, that's we're doing a lot of our good work and getting things done, tools built, software built, all the other stuff is because I'm just in there, headphones in, I'm talking, and we're just conversating through like just like that. So it just, it can make it work.
Absolutely. There was one piece I just wanted to thread out that you said is that this is something that you pivoted into 3 months ago, which tells me that you are open to high-end, high-tech, fast-paced, human being, that you're moving all these things along. You're still taking time to reevaluate how your productivity is being able to be generated, what you're doing, and you're ready and open to making change when it needs to happen.
Yeah, and it's trial and error. That's all it is for me. It's like I'm not hardcore with this, but like probably every 90 days I'm doing a check-in and saying what's working, what's not, what do we need to go tweak, what can we improve, what have we learned, etc. And that's what works for me. Like, and I guarantee you, I've tried every productivity physical book or software tool or whatever, and it's just like it might work for a week or two, but then it just I fall off the wagon, then it goes downhill and things like that. So it's just for me, it's just finding things that work for me and the season that I'm in as well. Understanding that things, especially with young kids, like seasons change. I'm still in the infant toddler stage, but when I have two toddlers, that's gonna be a different season than infant and toddler stage, right? And so it's just like you just got to be flexible and just as long as I understand. And what I realized for me was for my mental health and like my moods and like my energy, for me to feel good that I'm moving in the right direction, I'm accomplishing the things I want to, is really ensuring that I know these main categories that I need to be operating with and knowing that there's progress happening consistently in all those. I may not get everything I need to get done today, but that's okay because I'm still shutting my computer at 5:30 when my kids come home because I don't need to go spend another 2 hours just to get this one task done that it's still going to be there at 4 in the morning when I wake up. I can go do it on the treadmill kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing's going to stop me from doing that at that point. So it's just like making those intentional decisions of where are my priorities, but also how do I just ensure that things are happening and progress is making? And the only way for me to do that was time blocking and making sure that I had dedicated time set aside for all these different things that I know I want to get done. Because if not, I knew myself where if I get zeroed in on one specific thing, I may spend 3 days doing that one thing and then nothing else gets done, but I got that one thing done, but nothing else got done. And then I'm stressed out because nothing else got done. Right. Yeah. And so it asked me how I know, because I've been down this path, and that's the nature of the beast. So
that's awesome. Jordache, thank you so much for being with your Productivity Pulse today and for just sharing your journey, all your knowledge about AI and technology and your theories and philosophies on how it can be incorporated into our world, and also for sharing a little bit more personal story about your own productivity journey and how you've been able to manage and do some of the amazing things that you continue to do. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for spending your time with me on this episode of Your Productivity Pulse. If today's conversation sparked a moment of action or reflection, I invite you to keep that momentum going. More practical strategies designed to enhance productivity, reduce stress, and weave balance back into your life can be found by joining my newsletter at vanartexpression.com. Once there, just head over to your Productivity Pulse podcast page to sign up, or you can find the link in the show notes. Remember, intention plus accountability equals productivity. Until next time, keep listening to your pulse.